Well, let's talk business now. South Africa's future lies in moving up the value chain and industrialization, as we need to do it in a way that promotes economic inclusion. And this was said by the Minister of Trade and Industry, Dr. Rob Davies, on the Black Industrialists policy that was approved by Cabinet in December last year. According to Minister Davies, South Africa will not be able to industrialize unless it simultaneously includes black industrialists in the economy on a sustainable basis. He said that the future of the economy is in the manufacturing sector, and the inclusion of the black industrialists in it has to be encouraged. To talk us about how black industrialists can help us solve economic problems in the country is Amina Patterson, Head of Business Development at Enterprise and Supplier Development Specialists, Edge Growth. Amina, pleasure to have you with us here on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the talk is there, the policy has been approved. Is it being supported?
By corporates?
Well, I mean, government itself, is there any money that's been put behind it?
Yes, so both the DTI and the SME unit of the DTI have put money towards the program, you know, looking at 100 billion for the promotion of black industrialists over the next few years.
Have the black industrialists been clearly defined?
So not as yet. What was released was a concept document which has guidelines of what a black industrialist could potentially look like. And I think that's where the key issue is. It's around the selection criteria of who would benefit from this program. Otherwise, this program will also face the same criticisms that other government policies or programs like this have faced, that you have politicians or politically connected individuals benefiting from these types of initiatives.
And what are the definitions?
So what they speak about is obviously to promote mass job creation opportunity, 51% black owned. So it's not precluding, again, I think there's a misconception that we preclude white individuals from participating in these programs. By no means are we saying this. We're saying that the majority must be black owned and also operationally capable and involved within the business, as well as participating in the ownership scheme.
Would these people who qualify be already active in the business world, or is it anybody who comes forward and says, I want to become an industrialist, who would qualify?
So the two areas that they touch on are startups as well as established businesses. And I think that's the danger, is because a black industrialist is almost the graduation from your enterprise and supply development businesses, or the Gazelles program that the SME unit has also put into place. So if you're going to go the startup direction, you're looking at years and years and years and years of building a business. And that's like redoing a program that has already been in existence for years. Many other types of programs that have already been in existence.
But what size businesses are we talking about here?
So they haven't defined that as yet. But what I would think or like to hope for is that they pick up where the ESD pillar has left off. And the ESD pillar says that you need to be supporting businesses that have a turnover of less than 50 million essentially. And so I think any business that is earning over and above the 50 million mark are the ones that should be looked at.
And are these export-oriented businesses, or are these businesses that produce for the South African market?
Ideally, this should be a business that produces for the local market. And I think this is what we're trying to address, or what government is trying to address, is that if you look at the BE codes, it's about developing suppliers and SMEs so that we can improve localization within our country. The main challenge that we're facing now is we import quite a lot of our goods, machinery, we assemble sometimes locally, but we're not doing much locally to promote assembling and manufacturing in our country. So when we get highly impacted by exchange rates, or when the economy takes a downturn.
I'm wondering how this is going to work practically, whether the emerging black industrialists who will benefit from this support and policy are going to be integrated into the value chains of big established South African companies.
So currently the ESD pillar is trying to encourage that. It's not even trying, it's prescribing that. It is saying that of your 3% net profit after tax, you have to put 2% of that towards the development of suppliers. So already there has to be supplier integration. And I mean, this addresses access to market being an issue. So we're trying to provide, I think the program as well speaks to it, access to finance, access to market. Other areas which it could potentially address is building on the network capital that black people do not have, compared to our white counterparts.
Yes. Now, the financial institutions in the country, are they part of the system, or they are not affected by this?
So definitely a part of it. I think the challenge has been that there hasn't been enough of a movement to understand what are the challenges that black entrepreneurs face. And so funding has been very traditional in the past.
I'm just wondering if the government is not going to leverage, using the funding institutions that are owned by the government on a maybe run-for-run basis, or finding a mechanism of sorts of getting the private sector to come to the party, at least funding-wise.
So, I mean, in our case, if I look at Edge Growth, we have the First Rand Fund, we manage the First Rand Fund, and we've called it Vumela, and that's in conjunction with the Jobs Fund. So that's a great example of how a corporate can work with the government institution to provide funding that's on favorable terms to black entrepreneurs.
Now, those entrepreneurs listening to us now who want to be part of this program of black industrialists, what should they do? What should they know?
Look, I think what's very key is this is not a handout. It's about proving yourself. It's about being able to show a track record that you've invested something in the business yourself. No one's going to give you a handout. This is not the intention of the program. And I think that's why BE or programs like this have gotten a bad rep in the past, is because it's been seen to be a handout system. So they should know that they need to prove their track record. They need to build their expertise, build their capability, not to rush for funding from a program like this, but rather gradually go through different systems that help build their capability internally and their expertise, maybe give them a bit of the seed funding that they need to help expand their business or get over some of the growth constraints that they're facing, and then approach a program like this. Because also the wrong type of support at the wrong time in their business can cripple their business.
Briefly, you sound very optimistic and excited about all of this. Tell me why.
Well, but I believe a solution on the table is something that we should work with. There are no other solutions. I mean, BEE, these type of programs are always under criticism, but unfortunately, I don't see much else being done. And what this helps is government puts in this policy, and it stimulates the private sector to get involved. And I think any country where you have your private sector and government working together to empower the country and stimulate the economy is a solution that can work.
Amina Patterson, thank you very much for being our guest.
Thank you for having me.
And she's with Edge Growth, explaining the black industrialist policy that was unveiled by the government recently.